You know how it works. You got to give me a second to get set up. We got to let a little bit of time pass for people to jump in. YouTube send out their, subscription notifications, stuff like that. I got to pop out the chat. I got to post it in the Discord. You guys know the drill. So if anyone is in there, hang tight. Give me a second. Don't see anyone in there yet. It usually takes about a minute or two. Sometimes 3, no big deal. Let's get that chat popped out. 2 people, I see you. Just getting set up. Welcome. You guys just jumped in. I just started this thing. The 2 people that are in here, if you can comment, let me know, how the levels are in terms of, the sound of my voice. Hey, Middle Earth, what's up, dude? Let me know how the sound of my voice is versus, the background music I got playing. Got some synthwave going. Just get a blank screen in case I need to Google something. Middle Earth, why did you say last? Hey, what's up, Fred? You're not last, you're first. You're the first one in here. So like, I'm 9 people in here now. Okay, cool. So look, I'm gonna just start yapping real quick, and then the questions can jump in. What's up, Suwad? I see you. So we got 35 subscribers. Ed Beck, what's up? You're on time, yes sir. Pete from across the street, what's up? I see you. So on the thumbnail, this is my 35K stream. We got 35,000 subscribers now. I'm sure maybe 1,000 of them are bots or fake accounts, but whatever, right? We got to celebrate it anyway. And if you noticed, on the thumbnail, I have the Bucard S400 Mark IIs. That's the thumbnail for this screen. That's the speaker that's set up. I didn't set them up just for the thumbnail. I was listening to them. So that's just a friendly reminder to everyone. That is still my daily driver. That is still my go-to. No matter how much stuff I've heard that's more expensive and technically better. I've reviewed a ton of stuff that's better. It makes for the argument that at some point, it's not about what's better. It's about what you like. It's about the product that is good enough in terms of performance and just puts a damn smile on your face. And for me to, it happens to be the $2,500 pair of Bucard S400s. Pete says, Rail video was great. Thank you. Thank you. That was a tough video to make because it's so outside of what I normally do, Middle Earth says, because people always geek out about if they're first. Oh, okay. That's funny. Which seems lame to me. Did you chop it up with Fremer at Rel? No, actually, he's one of the people I didn't really talk to at all. That was my first time meeting him. I didn't really know who he was. It was kind of obvious he's, kind of a minor celebrity, if you will, in the space. But we didn't chat. There was a lot of people there. There was 15, content creators of various sorts there, whether they were from the magazine publications, from YouTube like me, or short form, TikTok, Instagram Reels type creators or vinyl reviewers, things like that. And I didn't talk to everyone. I just made it a point to talk to whoever was near me, wherever it felt natural, right? And so that's what I did. But yeah, back to what I was saying, guys. The best way to get off the hi-fi merry-go-round is to forget about what product is technically better, whether it's the specs or the amount of detail it has or the amount of bass it has or how luscious the mid-range is. Forget about what's better and start looking for a sound you like. Once you find a sound you like from a product, you won't care about where it's lacking, if that makes sense. So, the Bucard S400 Mark II is still my daily driver after all these years. If you guys got questions, start asking them. Only 15 people in here right now. It kind of takes a while. Once it's about 40 people is when we get a lot of questions. Also, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm to circulate this live stream to more of my subscribers. Very few subscribers get a notification, even if you have notifications checked. Actually, if you have notifications checked, you should get a notification. What the algorithm does the more you like the video, is it shows up more on your recommendations page. So guys that are on YouTube right now that are my subscribers won't know this is happening unless we, get a lot of likes on the video. It doesn't need to be like 1,000 or anything. Just I'd say as close as we can get to a 1-for-1 ratio seems to make the algorithm happy. Like there's 16 of you in here. If we get 16 likes, that should help YouTube show it to let more of the subscribers know what's happening. The Bast Blast. That's a crazy name. I thought it was the Beast Blast. Says nice videos. I subscribed this week. Welcome, dude. It's pretty rare that I get a comment from a new subscriber. It seems like a lot of the new subscribers are more on the quiet side. Plus, I get a lot of people that'll comment and they'll be like, I've been subscribed for years. I don't usually comment. There's a lot of people that just don't comment for one reason or another. They just like to, just watch the content, stay out of the conversation, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But Blast, it's good to see you in here. I appreciate you. If you got any questions about hi-fi, subwoofers, speakers, amps, whatever, I'm here for it. I'll do my best to answer them. I don't have the answer to everything, though. So, all right. So his first question from the Bass Blast is, what type of products are you thrilled to cover these days? Most people know I like subwoofers a lot. That's kind of what I love, but I have reviewed almost most of them at this point that are like phenomenal. I've kind of found the gems. I've kind of found the winners already. So kind of what's left are, a lot of subwoofers by speaker companies, for example. And some of those are good. Some of them not so much. But I think with subwoofers, I've already found just the top performers, the hidden gems, the ones that are priced well and sound excellent and integrate well. I like bookshelf speakers just as much as the next guy. That's going to be second. And third place actually is going to be amps. As much as I think amps are the most important thing, I don't like reviewing them. It's a pain in the butt. Middle Earth says there is some buzz at ABX about your Neil Blanchard review. What kind of buzz? I'm curious. I don't mind posting an early link in my Discord either. That video's ready. It's uploaded. I don't mind sharing it early with the guys in my free Discord if you guys want to see it. But what's the buzz about? Is it positive? Is it negative? I'm curious. It's a great speaker. You could build that Neil Blanchard Tower 6 for, I think realistically, in the video I said $500 a few times, but that's your true DIY guy. You got wood laying around, you got it, you got extra term binding posts, you got everything you need already for the most part. Most people I think are going to be in the $700 to $800 range. You can get up to like $1,000, $1,200. If you pay someone to assemble the crossover, maybe you pay someone to assemble the cabinet, you got to buy some clamps, you got to buy some wood glue. You got to buy some binding posts, and you went for some fancy ones. You can get up to $1,000, $1,200, but I think that $700, $800 range is doable if you're frugal, That speaker did get down to 25 hertz in my room too, and it sounded good. The bass quality is what was most notably impressive. It had deep bass extension, but was still able to have that dynamic attack that kicks you in the chest. And that's pretty rare. Usually, most speakers can either get down really low or have really chesty, strong attack bass that you feel in the chest. It's pretty hard to get both, because if you think about the way vented speakers work, and most speakers are vented, right? That port tuning frequency dictates what part of the bass region will be most powerful and most emphasized, right? Most speakers do it around 40 hertz. That means, you might get, within 5 to 10 hertz plus or minus some extra, because it's kind of like this shape is what it's not just a spike at the port tuning frequency. So it'll blend up a little bit and it'll blend down a little bit. But a 40 hertz port tuning frequency isn't going to do anything for your 60 hertz dynamic attack. It's not going to do anything for your 30 hertz bass region. Matter of fact, it's going to roll off more aggressively. But this transmission line Neil has designed creates a scenario where you get that attack in that 50, 60, 70 hertz range, and you get that deep bass, 25 to 40 hertz extension that is so full sounding. It's a kick-ass speaker. Note to note distinction in the bass region is excellent. It is high fidelity bass. It's not just powerful bass. It's not just deep bass. It is high fidelity, high quality bass. I think it's fantastic. No one commented on the music. Is it too loud? Is it good enough? Is it background, like ambiance? Can you hear it? I'm curious. Let me know. Carlos Gomez says, oh, sorry. I missed some. Carlos, I'm going to come back to you. The Bass Blast says he has the Totem Tribe sub. I haven't heard that one, but from the people who own it that have some experience with other subs, I've heard it's quite good. Middle Earth says Neil is one of the ABX crew from what I see. So ABX is down with Neil. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. I can see that. You know, sometimes manufacturers and reviewers end up becoming friends. You know, we end up getting to know each other, having some cool relationships, and there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. All right, Carlos, your turn now. Carlos Gomez says, what's your real opinion? Come on, like as if I ever don't give my real opinion of Rel's new subs compared to its previous generation S series. 812 is going for almost half price now, and it might be a good idea to purchase 2 of these instead. Look, if you can get a secondhand Series S on the used market that someone's letting go for cheap because they got to have the latest and greatest thing, you capitalize on that deal. If you've got a local dealer clearing out old Series S, you know, S510, S812 Carbon Special for 30, 40, 50% off, capitalize on that deal, brother. Previous gen Series S, it's freaking outstanding stuff, okay? The new stuff gets an aesthetic upgrade. It is a sonic upgrade. It is better in quite a few ways. What it seems like they've done to me, based on what I heard at the Relevant, based on my experience with the new S850, and being an owner of the previous gen Carbon Special, it seems like the new S550 is closer in performance to the outgoing S812. It seems like the new S850 is closer in performance to the outgoing Carbon Special. Does that make sense? It seems like they used the next model up of the previous range to be the benchmark for the one down on the new range. So the new range is phenomenal, but it costs more. It's not going to be on sale for a while, I'd imagine. Maybe we'll see a little bit on Black Friday, maybe $99 off. I wouldn't count on it. I'd imagine coming up Black Friday, we're going to see Series TX and HT on sale. Maybe Predator 1510. I don't think new Series S is going to see a discount. And if it is, it's going to be like, it's not even going to cover the tax. Whoa, sorry. Right? So if you can get a deal on old Series S, why wouldn't you? I remember when I bought my LG OLED right there. That's a C3 OLED. The C4 OLED had just come out, so I got that $600 off. Why wouldn't you do that? There's nothing wrong with that. Now, with that said, if you've got the money and you enjoy having the latest, greatest, the newest thing, by all means, buy the new model. There's nothing wrong with that either. In my opinion, there's no such thing as being financially responsible in a hobby because we don't need any of this stuff, right? All of this is a luxury. Whether you have $200 speakers or $10,000 speakers, this is all a luxury because you can listen to music on whatever headphones came with your cell phone, on your TV that has built-in speakers. This is all a luxury. So whether you buy the new one at full price or get a deal on the outgoing model, I mean, let's be honest, the outgoing model, getting a deal on that is probably the financially wiser choice. But if you got the money, who cares? Do what you want. Do what puts a smile on your face. Hope that answers your question, Carlos. Serge says, hey, what's up, brother? Hope all is well. Yes, sir, all is well. And fun fact, guys, it's almost been a year since my hernia surgery now. And I'm happy to report I am like 99% recovered from that thing. It's almost like I never had the injury, that was my goal. That was the outcome I was hoping for. October 31st will be exactly 365 days from the surgery date. So we're in good health. We're in good shape. You know, maybe got 20 pounds to lose if I'm being honest, but I just like Taco Bell too much and I don't eat it every day, but I I hit it once a week. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I hit it and I hit it hard. Okay. Nemo Propaganda likes to work out and exercise, and Nemo Propaganda likes to eat. I can't lie. H2O Filter says Nemo is the man. Thank you, H2O Filter. I appreciate that. Pete from across the street says, have you heard Morel TICW 1258 foot titanium series 12? That's a hell of a name. Jeez. Any thoughts on it? Is that a raw driver, Pete? If that's a raw driver, I probably, let me just look it up real quick. I am familiar with Morel's drivers. They make phenomenal drivers. Oh, that one. I know about that one. I have not heard that one, but I have some friends that are into like extreme high-end car audio, and they've played around with some of Morel's more esoteric, high-end, expensive drivers. They are pure SQ drivers. They are good. They are phenomenal. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's they're gonna have that bass that comes from an ink black background that's light on its feet and is not dominating the presentation. It's gonna integrate well. Now, of course, pairing it with the appropriate cabinet and high quality amplification is really gonna matter. But Morel is without a doubt what I consider a premium driver manufacturer. Yeah, I like their stuff, but I have not heard that one. Let's get back to that chat. Fred says, Nemo, what is your opinion about any room correction software like the Rackroo Odyssey for 2.1? I've given this opinion many times. I don't mind giving it again. I think it's like this. You know, it depends on your room and your situation. If your room is properly fucked up for one reason or another, and you know, you don't want acoustic panels and stuff like that. That's just, imagine a room like this one behind me. I can't put acoustic panel. It would look terrible. So in this room, I have like a terrible suck out around 60, 70 hertz. My imaging is all messed up because I got the alcove right there. This room to sound good, even in 2.1, 1,000% would require a proper DSP setup and calibration. That's the only way to get this room behind me to sound good. Now, do I have that? Do I do that? No, I just dealt with the imperfections because this is my casual TV setup. But if this was my only space for high-end 2-channel music, I would for sure be utilizing DSP because it's the only choice I've got back there. Downstairs in my listening room, where it is a dedicated listening room, could it benefit from DSP and not using room treatment instead? Could I have taken that approach and have a more aesthetically pleasing room? I certainly could have. But I had no problem using passive room treatment instead. That room didn't have a lot of issues. I'd rather not use DSP if the room has minor issues that can be solved with better placement, a couple of bass traps, some absorption at the first reflection points. That sounds a little more natural to me. But if my room, even my listening room downstairs, though it is a dedicated listening room, if it had major issues, then yes, I would use correction, right? So it depends on the room, if that makes sense. A lot of problems, I think DSP absolutely has its place, but if the problems are very minor, you got a 3 or 4 dB spike at 60 hertz or something, you got a little bit of roll off at 2 or 3 dB roll off at 30 hertz. These aren't major issues, you know? You know, if the room already images wide and deep and things like that, and it's like, it's just less is more in that situation, but sometimes you need it. Hope that answers the question. H2O Filter says, what bookshelves under 1K did you like with the Choco? Just personally, on a personal level, my under $1,000 favorites are going to be like the Dynaudio EMIT 10. It's a bit of a V curve. It's more of a fun sound, sparkly treble, pumped up bass. It's not the quickest bass in the world, but there's a good amount of it. It sounds full. It's got a warm mid-range. And really, really high quality treble is coming out of that tweeter, you know, for its $800 price point. Really like that one. Now, if you're like, hey, that bass that is pumped up and a little bit loosey-goosey, I don't want that, then I'm going to go with the RBH5i, also $800, also extremely high quality treble for the money. Those two speakers are some of the best treble quality you can get for the money at $800. The RBH5i does give up the bass. It doesn't have much bass at all. Its bass is going to be quicker and tighter, just not a lot of it. Now, if you want something very, very neutral around that price, that's going to be the Philharmonic Ceramic Mini. The Philharmonic Ceramic Mini is going to give us the most beautiful cabinet at $800, maybe $900, I can't recall. It's going to give us very high quality drivers. You know, all three options, I think, give us good high quality drivers. The treble region of the Ceramic Mini is going to be neutral, so it's not going to have as much sparkle and expansiveness as the RBH5i or the Dynaudio EMIT 10. It's going to be more neutral. The mid-range of the Ceramic Mini, again, more neutral. And the bass region is a little bit elevated. It's pumped up. It's giving you extra bass, but it's bass that's tight, quick, and articulate. So my neutral recommendation, Philharmonic Ceramic Mini. My fun, recommendation with extra bass, really thick bass, really warm sound, Dynaudio EMIT 10. And my just kind of like open and expansive, not much bass at all, more that focal sound is going to be the RBH5i. Any of those three would be fantastic with the Choco. And the Choco is a fantastic amp. If you own it, good job. Congratulations. You made a fantastic choice. I still have my review sample here of the new one because I regretted so much not asking for a long-term loan on the previous one I reviewed, that when I got this second one, I talked to Vinshine and I was like, hey, this is a reference piece. Can I hold on to it a little bit longer? It's still their property. I'll send it back when I'm done with it, but they agreed to let me hold on to it. Super chat from H2O Filter, H2O Filter, $10. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. You guys don't have to give me money. It's appreciated. For the most part, what I do with a lot of that money is I re-super chat it to other content creators I follow. I like kind of pass it along. You know what I mean? I believe in that positivity. Oh, it sounds like I could turn up my music a little bit. I'm going to do that because it's really for me. I like it. So I turned it up a smidgen. If it's too loud, let me know. Let me get back to these comments. Middle Earth retracted his comment. Probably had some typos in there. I'm guessing you're going to fix it and repost it. Serge says he loved the Rel video. Any way to pull off the 6-pack Rel does with another brand like Rhythmic, for example? I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how the connections are in the back and how the tuning is from top to bottom. That's something I've always viewed as I don't need to understand the technicalities, because if you buy a 6-pack, someone else is going to set it up for you. At that, I mean, you're spending at minimum, a 6-pack of S550s is around $19,000. A 6-pack of Predator 1510s is $12,000 without any discounts. I'd imagine that's just being set up for you. Can it be done with like Rhythmic F18s or something? There's no way to like secure them together, because the 6-pack of Rels, they come with brackets and they're secured together. So, the top one's not going to like fall off, for example, if, I don't know, your dog like runs into, you got a big dog and they run into it or something somehow, or if there's a little earthquake, maybe, I don't know, right? So you'd have to make your own bracketry. You'd have to add some threaded inserts. Nothing's impossible, technically. With enough effort and money, technically anything's possible. You can make the exhaust of your car shoot out the front if you want to, right? Anything's possible. Is it feasible? That really depends on the end user, I'd say. You can totally just stack subs and like have them play the same frequency, though. I've done that. It works great. There's nothing wrong with that. Will it have the same result as a Rel 6-pack? No, they're doing something different there, where each one is kind of handling something different. But I would say, here's the simple answer. You can definitely make a 6-pack of most subs, so long as we don't have to worry about them toppling over. And they're all just running the same frequency, and you would have an epic wall of bass. That's not what the Rel 6-pack does. Again, because each one plays its own kind of frequency, but that, a 6-pack of anything would be awesome, just in different ways. Ed Beck says, how do you find search for new music? I'm terrible at that. I don't often get a lot of new music, to be honest. Sometimes I'll hear a song like in the background of Instagram Reels. I'm like, oh, what's that? That's how I found a lot of EDM that I like. I'm not that good at finding new music. Chris 200 says, do you buy the products you review or does the manufacturer lend them to you? In the first 2 years of this channel, Chris, about 80% of what I reviewed, I was buying with my own money and then selling it at a loss. When I was done with the review at this point, my channel is large enough that I no longer have to do that. I've been in the space long enough where I've built enough like relationships and I know enough people at enough companies that these are loans. I generally have them for 30 to 90 days in my care. That's enough time for me to review them, film my video, take pictures, things like that. And then I pack them back in the box. I email the manufacturer, hey, your review's been posted for a couple of weeks now. I need a return label and you need to schedule pickup for this and you know, get this out of my house. And they go. Sometimes if a product is so good, it's a reference piece for me. I ask to hold on to a little bit longer, maybe about a year. Products like that would be like the Choco Ime, the Rel HT1003 Mark II. That is my small subwoofer reference, you know. It doesn't mean it's my property. I can't sell it. When I'm done with it, when it's no longer of use to me or my channel, I do generally have to send those back. Sometimes if enough time has passed where that product is maybe being replaced by a new model, at that point, the brand might say, hey, it's not like we can sell it, you know, that's model's been replaced. You can keep it, give it to a friend. It's not worth the hassle of receiving it back, you know? That's pretty rare, but you know, that's perks of the trade, I guess. That does happen sometimes. H2O Filter says, saw you at Axpona. Are you going again in 26? Yeah, unless something crazy happens, you know, I get hit by a car or something. I like Axpona. My goal this year at Axpona, no manufacturer dinners. No, I'm not going to dinner with a single manufacturer. I already know these motherfuckers. We email back and forth all the time. You know, I'm going to try to have like all my free time, like for the audience. I'm trying to kick it with people. I'm trying to have a good time. You know what I mean? I fucked up last year. I did too many manufacturer dinners and I love the manufacturers. They're super. Some of them are really nice and down to earth and cool people, but I already know them. I'm trying to see people I've never met. You know what I mean? Cause I go out for the audience, not for the manufacturers, you know? So guys, feel free to remind me of that. And friendly reminder, if you see me at Axpona, if I'm talking to a manufacturer, fuck them. Feel free to interrupt. Feel free. I probably already know them. I probably have their cell phone number. Feel free to interrupt me and say hello. I am there for you guys. I feel like the music got quieter. Hold on. All right, I turned it up a little bit. If it gets too loud, just you guys let me know. It's for me. I find it entertaining. I like synthwave. I don't listen to it a lot, but where did I leave off? AJ says, so good to hear on the health. Thank you, bro. I'm happy too, honestly, because I know some people in my life that had a surgery for something and, you know, that part of the body was never quite the same afterwards. You know, that tends to happen in older age. If at 55 you shatter your shoulder, if you can get an 80% recovery, that's pretty good, you know, but I'm happy I was able to get to 100%, you know. Mike Stevens says, hello, Nemo and everyone. What's up, Mike? Welcome. Chris 200 says, what do you think has more effect on sound quality, a CD, streamer, transport, or DAC? I think it depends on the product. I've heard some high-end streamers that are like $3,000+ that you're like, what the hell? Like, this is just a streamer. Like, how does this make the music sound better? But it does. And then, same with the $3,000 DAC, something like the Live Harmony. So it just depends on which one. My opinion is most streamers under about $1,000 are bringing similar amounts of sound quality to the table. And I don't think that's true with DACs. Like, I think $300 streamer, like a $200 streamer, something like made by Arylic, not Arylac, Arylic, Arylic. It's like this little inexpensive DIY brand. They sell finished units too. Their streamer and something like a Blue Sound Node, pretty similar. Is the Node better? A little bit. But if someone's like, is it like it's 3 times the price though? I want the cheaper one. Get the cheaper one and just pair it with a good DAC and you'll be in better shape. Personally, I run a Blue Sound Node that's modded with a LHY power supply from Vinshine Audio. And that goes into my live UDDC and Mu DAC. And to me, that's a phenomenal streamer DAC setup. And don't sleep on that power supply upgrade for the Node. That was one of those crazy things. Like, it was just like $300 for this power supply upgrade. And I still can't believe the level of improvement it brought to the Blue Sound Node. And I've talked to dealers that sell like these $3,000 and $4,000 streamers, and their opinion is that the Blue Sound Node, with almost any power supply upgrade, gets it pretty dang close to like a $2,000 streamer, which is very respectable because that combination is like under $1,000 still. Mike Stevens says, considering purchasing 4 rhythmic F18s. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. You want to run them around 100 hertz? That's really high for a subwoofer. What's going on that you need your subwoofer to blend that high? An F18 is good up to about 80, but there's not an 18-inch subwoofer in the world that's going to be happy at 100 hertz. It's just outside of their area of expertise. And you want to run it down to about 30. I mean, that sub can go a lot lower than 30. So, I mean, it feels like overkill so far. Let me keep reading. And then you want to build 2 24-inch stereo integrity DIYs or hard bottles and GSG enclosures. We'll be replacing 4 Velodyne 15s. Mike, you should hop in my free Discord and we can talk more about that. I think 4 F18s in high damping mode will be all you need. Those 4 F18s in high damping mode will already give you the clean attack you want in the mid-bass region and those infrasonics you want. I don't think you'll need to add the dual 24-inch stereo integrities. Those are badass, don't get me wrong. But 4 F18s can already handle deep teens extension, like, even 12, 13 hertz, right? I have friends with dual F18s. I've heard them. Conversely, if you're worried about headroom, because that's just so much sub, you're going to have so many cones to like integrate and so much to time align. Setup is going to make or break that kind of system. You might sooner prefer a pair of FV18s up front, right? For your crazy just headroom and just overall output, and then a pair of something like E15 HB2s in the back for your dynamic, tactile mid-bass region, and those will still get, E15 HB2s can get down to 14 hertz. Those will still get low too, so those will additionally contribute to your LFE effects, but also have your slam, your kick, your chesty bass. 6 subs, I think, is a little too much. Most people don't have the know-how and skill to time align all those. And you're going to end up in a situation where, while it should sound phenomenal, it may not. I have friends with 5 and 6 subs that are extremely intelligent, have, Trinom processors and lots of know-how and experience. And it's taken them about 3 months to get that dialed in. And even they admitted like the 5th and 6th sub was like just barely doing anything. They're just tweaking, fine tuning, you know. Carlos Gomez says, do you aim for a flat frequency response with subs and fronts, or do you like a Harman curve with boost in the lower octaves? I don't know what a Harman curve is, honestly. I hear that phrase thrown around a lot. I'm gonna be honest, guys, there's a lot of shit I don't know. People just be saying shit, and I don't give a fuck enough to look into it. Because I think sometimes these phrases get thrown around, and I have a theory most people don't really know what they mean. Maybe that's just me. But to answer your question, Carlos, and I don't mean, I'm not trying to give you attitude or nothing. I hope you know that. I'm not saying you don't know what it means, but I think in general, some of these phrases get thrown around a lot. I digress. To answer your question, Carlos, no, I don't like perfect neutrality. I don't like a flat frequency response. I'm setting my subs up boosted. I got extra bass. You come to my house, you hear my system, it's not accurate at all. No, I do not have the accurate amount of bass. I have a neighbor that has a pair of Kef blades, and he has a double stack like JL Audio sub. And he came over to my place and heard my setup, and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, this is cool. And you know, it's obviously not on the level of his. And I'm like, what do you think about the bass? And he goes, I wouldn't want more. So in his opinion, I even had too much. I definitely like my bass extra, juiced up, exaggerated. I like it clean. I like it to integrate. I like it to be articulate, but I like it boosted up. I like extra, right? It's like some people, when they get their bowl of pho, they want a lot more spice in there, you know? I happen to like my bowl of pho the way it comes. Some people like to, you know, pimp it out a lot and add a lot more flavor to it. I like my music with a lot more flavor. I like my highs neutral to slightly dark. I like my mid-range a little bit warm, not crazy warm. The Picard S400 is about as warm as I'd like. Something like the Dynaudio Evoke 20 is a little bit too warm for my personal taste. And I like my bass thick, especially in that 30 hertz region. I'll even, believe it or not, despite owning like Rel Carbon specials that are quick as hell, I would trade speed for thickness in the bass region. I would. Luckily, I don't have to because I own subs made by Rel and I own subs made by Rhythmic that are quick, even in those regions. But if that didn't exist, you know, I would give up a little bit of speed for thickness. That's how much I like it. Phil Garrison says, great stuff again. New sub here. Welcome, Phil. Welcome. He says he's got M&K X12 Plus is looking to add another sub. Have thought about a Rel Predator 1510 and the Rhythmic F18, both on the used market. Thoughts? The Rel Predator 1510 is an outstanding subwoofer, but was not made to compete with an 18-inch subwoofer. Let's just be clear about that. We're talking about the two top brands when it comes to bass fidelity. The F18 is on the higher level in terms of what it can do with its output, its headroom, its extension, sound quality. They're both fantastic. We don't have to worry about that. When we're talking about Rel and Rhythmic, we don't have to worry about bass fidelity. We're splitting hairs at that point. They both bring it. This just comes down to if you want a 15 or if you want an 18. Imagine like the same brand made both of them, right? Tonally, there are some slight differences. Rel's HT range tends to sound a little more dry, right? Tonally, it's not bringing any warmth. It's not bringing any flavor. Tonally, it's neutral to dry. Rhythmic, tonally, is also very neutral, but tonally to just smidgen warm by direct comparison. If you're looking to add the most extension as possible, the F18 is the easy choice, I'd say. The Predator 1510 is going to more compete with the E15 HP2, right? Mike Stevens says 2 Velodyne 18-inch HGS 18s for home theater. Thoughts? It depends if you're saying that's what you currently own or if that's what you're thinking about buying. Because those are old as fuck. I would not buy a subwoofer that old. The adhesives that hold down the surround, the adhesives that hold down the spider pack, depending on what was used and what kind of heat cycles it's been through, can start to degrade around that time. The Spider Pack has lost a lot of its stiffness. The suspension overall, the surround has lost a lot of its stiffness at that point. So, okay, I see you just updated your comment. So I wouldn't buy those new today. What I would buy new today, if someone was in the market for something like that, is the Rhythmic F18. Now, if you have them already, enjoy them. Who cares if they're old? If they're still working, they're still working. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, because here's the thing with old stuff. Sometimes old stuff lasts forever. So if you already own old stuff and it's still working, keep rocking with it. But I wouldn't intentionally buy a subwoofer that's 20 years old, right? I just wouldn't. It doesn't make sense. We got 47 people in here. Guys, if you can, friendly reminder, try to get some likes on the video. It helps circulate it to more people that are on here. Ken Lane says he's saving up for a choco. Please pass the hat around. I guess Ken's looking for donations. It's a great choice. It's a great look. The Choco Ime. If you want a purist amp, you don't care about features. You don't need sub outputs. You don't need tone controls. You know, you just want the highest quality sound you can get for the money, and shockingly high level of build quality for the money. That's the Ime. Pal says, greetings, Nemo. I hope all is well. Do you think you will get to review the new Emotiva XS12E subwoofer? Good question, but I got feelings. I got feelings to discuss. I love Emotiva. They mean the world to me as a brand. They got me back into hi-fi when I went through a really bad period in my life. I had just broken up with a woman I loved a lot. We separated over religious differences. And I respect her for that. She knew what she wanted. In a nutshell, this is what it came down to. I believe in God. I'm not religious. She believed in God and was religious. So she wanted a man that would praise Jesus with her. And I told her I would do that for her. And she was like, no, I want you to do that for Jesus. And I respect and love her for knowing what she wants, but we did part ways over that. And when I left, I moved out because I lived in her place at the time. I was in my early 20s. I moved out and I had a system there. And she was like, what about your system? And I just looked at her and I'm like, you seem to really enjoy it too. Like, you can have it. And she was like, but you really love it. And I'm like, I was so hurt. I just didn't care. I was like, you can have it. And I left it with her. And I didn't have a system again for a long time until I saw Steve Guttenberg's review on the Emotiva Mini X. You know, this is a period of my life. I was broke. I did not have money. And that Emotiva Mini X was like $219 back then. So I ordered one. And Emotiva had a pair of bookshelf speakers called the XRT 4.1s, which I still have. And I still have that Mini X. They were on sale for $169 and I bought those too. And that got me like out of my depression, if you will, of, you know, the breakup. This was like 2 years later, 3 years later, I was still going through, you know, it really fucked me up, honestly, guys. I was drinking too much, everything, you know, and the Emotiva value and build quality got me back into this. This YouTube channel wouldn't exist without Emotiva. So I love them. But every fucking time I review their shit, they change the price. And not just once, like 5 fucking times, man. And I'm sick of it. I cannot review their shit anymore. I can't. And they did this, not me. I'll be reviewing this shit and I'm like, fuck, man. It's like, for the price, it's kind of all right, you know? And I feel like I have to be making excuses for them almost in the video, you know? And if you pay attention to like any of my recent Emotiva videos, I'm not like over the moon for them. And it's because at the time the shit was like priced stupid high. And then like a month after my review, they dropped the shit by like $100, $200. Yo, if the price was just lower when I reviewed it, it would have been a super positive review. And I would have just given it like fucking 10 stars. But they can't fucking get their price right, man. And they keep changing it, and it fucking pisses me off, man. You know? Sorry, man. I've been holding that one in for a long time, guys. Because I love them. I just explained why. And they just keep... Pay attention to their prices when they release a new product. Just fucking... Every couple months it changes. How am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to recommend... When someone says I'm looking for a good thing around X price, I have to look up their price and see what it is because it changes so often. So, honestly, bro, for now, and because of that, and as much as I love them, and I think they make good stuff and fair stuff for the price, sometimes they don't make good stuff for the price because sometimes the price is way higher than it should be. So if you get their shit when the price is right, it's phenomenal. But when it's not, I don't know, bro. I don't want to bitch anymore, bro. I think everyone gets my point. Love them, and when they can get back to having like dialed pricing, I'll get back to reviewing their shit because I do think they make good shit. Matthew Wright says synthwave is great. Ever listen to the Midnight? I don't know what that is. When I listen to synthwave, I just look it up on YouTube and just click on a random video. Scooby D2 says, hi, is the Rotel 5000 any good, especially considering it's bloody expensive? Or if not that, then what? And what amp has to be? And the amp has to be Rotel. My dad had one, so that's that. I'm not the Rotel guy. I haven't reviewed anything by Rotel ever. I haven't heard anything they make. I don't know if this reviewer has covered this model specifically, but you might want to check out Andrew Robinson's channel. I have seen him review Rotel products a few times, and he may be more familiar with the brand. If you ever catch him on a live stream, the best advice I have is ask your question in a super chat. Because, you know, Andrew Robinson's live stream's got like 2,000 viewers. He can't answer every question like I can with my little stream. So if you want to get his attention, drop him $5-10, ask your question, and he'll answer it. But I don't know if he's reviewed it. You might want to go to his channel from a computer. From a computer, you can search anyone's channel to see, you know, what content they have, and you can type in Rotel in his search bar on his YouTube page and see the Rotel products he's reviewed. That's my advice. H2O Filter says, have you had much experience with open baffles? What's your take? I have experience with esoteric designs and exotic designs of products. You know, exotic and esoteric designs, anything open baffle, rotary subs, folded horn subwoofers, bandpass subwoofers, 4th, 5th, 6th order, whatever the fuck. And I'll say this, there's a reason they're niche. There's a reason you don't see them everywhere. These esoteric designs generally tend to be good at something. In this narrow range, they're phenomenal. In this certain area of performance, depending on which niche product we're talking about. And then they tend to come with a massive downside. Open baffle, for example, tends to have a very realistic mid-range. Downside tends to be very large. Tends to sacrifice low bass, extension, and power. Tends to be expensive because it's large. You either pay the shipping or shipping's built into the price, so on and so forth. Also tend to be dipole, right? So which requires some space from the wall, requires a certain type of room to get the best sound. So all these niche designs have their areas where they're fantastic. And if that area in the sound where they're fantastic is an area of sound you value just up here, then you may be a customer for such a niche product. But if you're not particularly sensitive to that area of sound, you know, then what are you buying it for? Because you're just getting the downsides and the benefits aren't of great value to you. Give me a second here. Not sure my AC's on, guys. Give me like 1 second. BRB, maybe 15 seconds. It was on, just dropped it down a degree. All right, let's see where we left off here. Whoa, a lot of comments. All right, the Bass Blast says, do you use an external clock? If so, why? No, I don't. I use a DDC, which is a digital clocker. With my DAC, I have a power supply in my streamer. That's kind of the limit of my tweaks. Ben Gleason, what's up, dude? He says, thank you for your service. You deserve 70K subs. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. Ben, you're a longtime subscriber, and I appreciate that. I don't remember everyone's names, guys, but I do remember the guys that have been here for a long time, the guys that are very active. Like, just from what's on my screen, Matt Wright, Ben Gleason, Ed Beck, Carlos. I don't know if, Carlos, you've been with me for a long time, but I've seen you active a lot recently. I appreciate that. Who else? Let's see here. I'm just scrolling. Siphonics. Let me scroll up, see who else I know. Surge, Fred, Middle Earth, Suwat, of course. You know, those are the people I just like hella always remember. Let me get back to where I left off. Ed says, have you looked into the Steam sale? Maybe some games on sale you might like. I haven't, because the big Steam sale's coming up, like that Thanksgiving sale, that Black Friday, that Cyber Monday, they go crazy. But there's no games I really want right now. There's a couple like that just came to Steam. Like, what is it? Not Scarlet Nexus. What's the other one with the baddie and it got like all hated on because the girl was super sexy. It was a PlayStation 5 exclusive originally. I can't remember the name, but like it's like a Nier Automata type. I'm trying to get into that and play that. I still have to play part 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not sure I have that passion still though. Expedition 33 was absolutely game of the year for me. We'll see. I haven't been gaming. So yeah, not Scarlet Nexus, sorry. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 was my last, and I think that was the only game I played this year. Mike Stevens says we can talk about it some more later in detail. The 24s would be to carry more of the infrasonics. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, no problem, Mike. Again, you know, you could hop in my free Discord. We could talk about it more. Carlos Gomez says, it's amazing what music can do to heal the soul. 100%. Yeah, man, 100%. He's probably saying that based on what I, talked about with, breaking up with my girlfriend and going through it back in the day. Peter, first name said, Barkashaw says +1, to what Carlos said. Peter, first name says, it happens to the best of us. Breaking up. Song I got dumped by This Masquerade by George Benson. All right. Sure says, yo, man, I appreciate the candor. Speaking of Emotiva, I have a pair of the Emotiva DR1 monoblocks, the best they can make. I'm interested in Class D Orchard Audio. Can level up with that? ? I've heard the Orchard Audio stuff. It shows it's good. I haven't reviewed it personally. It's not my, the guy's really nice. He was like more than happy to get me a review sample. I turned it down just because it just didn't interest me for some reason. I tend to review stuff I have an affinity for. Like I feel a pull towards the product for some reason. That's the shit I review. I have to feel something for it, right? Because this channel isn't really monetized. I get, $300 a month from just ad revenue. It doesn't even cover the gas in my fucking car. I do this for fun, man. So like I gotta feel something, like the Choco Ime, for example, like that was made by Kinky Studio. I own Kinky Studio preamps and monoblocks. Like I was curious what they made, the Totem stuff. I'd heard about it for years. I wanted to check it out, Dyne Audio, they make their own drivers. They use magnesium cones. Like I was curious about that. So I checked them out. The Fritz with the Carbon 7 SE Mark II. I'd heard so many things about Fritz speakers from Zero Fidelity. I got curious. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to check it out myself. Same with rel subs and rhythmic subs and those things, right? So just for one reason or another, I don't feel an affinity for those products he makes, but I've heard nothing but good things from them. Someone's saying the camera is flipped today. That's interesting. What do you mean the camera is flipped today? This is the same angle I always stream from. Does it look different on your end? Let me check. Hold on. No, I'm watching my own stream on YouTube. This is the same I always look. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean, bro. Yeah, Carlos says Emotiva offers good value, but I think Orchard amps are on another level. Yeah, that's a fair statement for sure. Ed Beck saying Porter Robinson does some synthwave. A ton of people do. I'm just not enough into it to like have favorites, I guess. Carlos says for the Rotel question, aim for the Mishi amps. Siphonics Audio says congrats on 35K. Thank you, bro. Thank you. He also says, oh, the camera is flipped today. That's interesting. Oh, I already responded to that. It's not flipped on my end. I don't know. Scooby-Doo says, cheers. I don't have a computer though, but thanks. I can hear Peter Green playing guitar in my head. That song, She Got Me So Blind, I can't see. Yeah, bro. Hey, like I said, it happens, to the best of us. And then you went on to ask if I've tried the BK subs. They used to make them with Rel, I think. If so, are they any good? I think their reputation is decent. BK doesn't really care about US-based reviewers. I think they're a small company that sells enough products. I tried to view one of their products. I sent them an email first, said, hey, do you guys sell to US customers? Because if they don't, I'm not even going to review it. And they're like, we do. They responded right away. Then I'm like, cool, I'm a reviewer. I'd like to review one of your products. And they never replied again. I sent 3 follow-ups. And they never replied again. That tells me they don't want to deal with US-based reviewers. Maybe they sell enough products. They don't need any additional marketing. And let's be honest, reviews are marketing, whether they're paid or not, So they didn't want to send me one and they just ghosted me. So fuck them. But they probably make a decent product. Barshkaz asks, can I ask for your opinion? No, just kidding. On a 10-year-old speaker at half the price versus a modern speaker at the same price, is old stuff still competitive or progress of tech too fast? It depends on the product, bro. I think where we've seen a lot of improvement is in the affordable stuff. I think a $200 speaker, from 10 years ago is probably going to be outperformed by a $200 speaker. Maybe not today, because the 2019 situation drove the price of a lot of stuff up. But I think a $200 speaker from like 2018 is probably better. Inexpensive stuff, we saw the performance really go up. And then unfortunately, because of 2019 supply chain issues, yada, yada, those $200 products are now like $300, $400. It is what it is. But it's really going to depend on the product. I'm sure there are some older amps that still compete, that you can get a hell of a deal on in the used market, right? I'm sure there's some old speakers you can get that still absolutely deliver, Hold up, I gotta highlight this so I don't lose my place. Carlos says BK offers good subs for less money, direct to customer, no dealership markup. I don't know how true that is, you know what I mean? A lot of brands that sell online manufacturer direct, there's still a markup. There's no dealer markup. It's not the same math, but these online brands have to spend a lot on marketing, and that's baked into the price too. Like, here's a perfect example. The Bucard S400, my favorite speaker. I love them. But let's be honest, does it punch above its weight? No, it doesn't. It's $2,400-$2,500 depending on the exchange rate. And it competes with products sold through dealer networks at the same price. You don't get more for the money. You just don't. That's how a lot of internet direct brands are, in my opinion. They're not really punching above their weight. The few that are really small companies like Philharmonic. Philharmonic punches above its weight. to some degree. I'm not sure all the. I think it's a bit of a. I think misnomer is the correct phrase. I think there is some value, some extra value in some products sold manufacturer direct, but not. I would not say that as a blanket statement. Scooby-Doo says, Mishi, I wish I'm not Rockefeller. Ed Beck says Stellar Blade. Yes, Stellar Blade is the game I was thinking about. Thank you. Thank you, Stellar Blade. Yeah, I want to play that. Siphonic says 30K substream was 9 months ago. The Nook with your speakers is on the side table. It's always been like that. This has always been this way. This alcove hasn't moved. It's always been to what is my left. And if you're watching this stream, it should be, let me look at my stream. It should be to your right. That's always been there. Yeah. No, nothing's changed. I'm using the same streaming setup. My camera's in the same orientation as always. He's saying he's autistic. He notices too much. I don't know, bro. It's the same. Like that painting is always there. Those two paintings are always on that side. The couch is always and the plant is always on this side. The mic's always to my right, your left. That Nook is always to my left, which is your right. Like nothing's changed, bro. I don't know. I think you're tripping. Scooby-Doo says, I'm British. I know now. Sounds like he wanted a free sub. I'm British too, so I don't know how it. You think if you're saying you think I wanted a free sub, let me remind everyone I can buy any fucking sub I want. I make tons of money with my day job, just to be clear. If you're saying they thought that, fuck them. The fuck do I want their sub for? I have a pair of Rel Carbon Specials. I have a Rhythmic FVX12. Until just recently, I had a JL D110, JL Audio E110. I have a Kef KC62. I have fucking, what else do I own? I own so many subs, I lose track. I could buy anything I want in hi-fi. This thing, these brands thinking I just want free shit. I send back everything I review. I don't keep shit. Unless it's a reference, I might keep it for like 1 year, like the Rel 1003 Mark II. I don't give a fuck about getting free shit from any of these brands. You want to know the truth? Half the time, the shit I own is better than the shit I'm reviewing. The fuck I want to keep their shit for? Fuck those people. And fuck anyone who thinks that about me. For real. Like, guys, look, let me be clear on something, guys. I will never pretend to be broke to be more relatable. I'm not going to do that. I think that's wrong. I don't ask anyone for money. I don't want any money from anyone. I don't charge a fee when I review shit. This is for fun for me, you know? So like anyone who's like in my pockets thinking this or that is going on, I don't know what to tell those people, man. Like you guys in the Discord know what's up. Like, you know what kind of cars I drive and shit. Like you guys know what city I live in, one of the most expensive cities in the world, guys. A YouTube channel, it's not moving the needle for me. I promise. Like, you want to rent a 2-bedroom apartment where I live, you better be ready to spend $4,500 a month. And I'm not talking about a luxury apartment. Luxury apartment's going to be like $5,500 a month. You want to rent a single family home where I live, about $5,000 a month on average. A fucking $600 subwoofer don't mean shit to me. $800. These brands that think that, honestly, fuck them. The Bass Blast says, what's up? And Scooby-Doo, I'd be curious if you think that. I'm trying to get a free sub. If you think that, I prefer you say that straight up, because I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you were trying to say that they thought that. And for the record, like I am British too. I don't see how that's relevant. I was born in London in 1983. I moved to America in 1989. The Bass Blast says, what sub would you pair with the Billy amp? I don't believe that's, you're asking the wrong question if that makes sense, my bro. The subwoofer doesn't need to be paired with an amp. It needs to be paired with your speakers in your room, right? Now, it being Class D, you probably want to forget the idea of running a rel with high level. It can be done, but you know, if you want to do that, reach out to them, figure out how to do it, make sure you're willing to deal with that. That's the only concern you're going to have with Class D. Aside from that, a sub doesn't need to be paired to an amp. It needs to be paired to the room, to the speakers, have sufficient output for what your goals are. If you're doing a theater, for example, you're not going to get a little baby sub, for example. You're going to get something that can do that LFE for you. You know, if you're doing music, you might be more concerned with fidelity and things like that. Mark Shifter says, great speaker. I don't know which one you're referring to, but cool. Maybe that's 400s I was talking about earlier. The Beast Blast says, LOL App Totem Tribe Towers. If those are the ones I think, those are seriously badass. Let me check. Hold up. Yep. Those. Oh, let me go back to that comment. I'm going to tell you something about those. So the Bass Blast, have you ever looked up what the driver looks like outside of the cabinet on that speaker? That's a custom driver using a billet aluminum basket Totem made. Like, it's got hours of machine time on it. That is a seriously badass driver they have in the Tribe Towers. I saw them outside of the cabinet at Axpona this year. That was in April. And I was like, what? This is crazy. That's Billy the Stalker in my Discord server has those too. Those are badass towers, bro. Scooby-Doo, I don't really understand what you're saying. You're saying the company, I think, so probably smell a rat. I would, even if I didn't. That sounds like you have a jaded perspective, bro. I don't know. It seems like you're seeing negativity in a situation where there's no negativity. You know, you got to understand, when I email these brands, I tell them I don't charge any fees. The review is free. My only expectation is that you cover the shipping both ways. I tell them this. You're being a little negative, bro, saying that you too would assume that. And it almost sounds like you're saying it's fair for the brand to assume that. No, that is a very negative perspective to have, my brother. And I'm sorry that you view things from that jaded perspective. You shouldn't. Why are we assuming the worst in people? Well, we shouldn't do that. If someone has not given us cause to assume the worst, doing so, I would say you're just taking an overly cautious approach to life. I don't think that feeds the soul in the proper way, but everyone is welcome to have whatever perspective they want. I have friends that walk around thinking like everyone's trying to take advantage of them, and I'll tell you this, they're not my happiest friends. You know, they're my friends that tend to be the most stressed out. Those are my friends with sleeping problems, always got something on their mind. I don't think that's a good mindset to have, but y'all can all think how you want. Siphonic says, I'm going to send you a screenshot of what? Oh, the Nook on my left. Okay, yeah. Send it to me on the Discord. I'm curious, yeah. Carla says, I'm surprised you use those tiny bookshelves for your living room when you have a lot to choose from. Yeah, well, those little guys are the Mon Acoustic Supermon Mini. I love them so much. After I reviewed them, I bought them. They're $2,000 a pair. They're not cheap. That's a really high-end micro speaker. I have the Hagel H190 right there. That's another one I really loved, and you know what I mean? So that's my system. Kef KC62 behind the couch fills out the low frequencies. Bought that too. You know what I'm saying? So as you guys can see, I'll be buying shit. If I like shit, I'll buy it. There's no reason for me to get free shit from someone, you know? Do I occasionally get free shit? Yes, I already said that. Sometimes, you know, the product's here, and by the time it's time to send it back, the product is either being replaced with a newer model, and it doesn't make sense to receive it back. Or if I use it a lot for my channel, they're like, hey, if you're using it, you can hold on to it. We don't mind. And that's very few companies are that gracious, guys. For a channel my size, very few companies. And even the bigger channels, like I've talked to Andrew Robinson. He doesn't really keep shit. He's trying to get that stuff out of his house. Same with Steve Gutenberg. He's trying to get that stuff out of his house. Guys, we only have so much square footage. This idea that we keep in shit is crazy. There are some reviewers, it is true, yes, some reviewers, the way they monetize their channel is they ask to keep the review sample and they sell it, and that's how they make money. And if that's how they make money, I don't want to, I got no judgment on that. If they hide the fact that they do that, now that's another story, but that's not what I do. And most of the bigger channels I know, like, again, like Andrew Robinson, Steve Gutenberg, they don't do that either. They want the shit out of their house when they're done with it. You know, no matter how big your home is, everybody only's got so much space. Because keep in mind, we're not just storing the speakers, the amp, the boxes they came in are massive, you know? Where'd I leave off? There we go. Okay. But yeah, Carlos Gomez, those Supermon minis, I love them. They're phenomenal. I would not recommend them to everyone because it is a very niche speaker being so small. But if you want a crazy high-end sound, that crazy level of like transparency that you usually get from $10,000 or more speakers, they do that. They don't have any bass, but they do that. So it is a very niche speaker. And I do recommend them 2 or 3 times a year to very specific people looking for something very specific. These are guys that have maybe like a $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 plus even main system. And they're looking for something as good as possible, but very small for their study, their office, things like that. Or, you know what I mean? And they don't care what it costs. They're going to pair it with a beautiful little Luxman amp, cost no object, because those little speakers need very high quality amplification as well, but they're phenomenal. Oh, Mark, that's where I knew you from. Mark Shifter, I never put 2 and 2 together and realized you're Verify Audio. This is hilarious. All this time, I just thought you were another subscriber. Mark is from Verify Audio. He's the gentleman who sent me the review sample of the Caldera 10. And he's saying this is true. He sent back our Caldera 10. Yes, of course. It's not my product to keep, you know? And I'm sure Mark will agree too. If I was like, Mark, this is super useful to my channel, can I hold on to a little bit longer? Mark would for sure be gracious enough to allow me to do that. But I would rather send it back. He could sell it as open box to a customer. That customer gets a little bit of a deal, you know what I mean? Maybe as affordable as his sub is at $199, maybe that extra $34 off really makes a difference for someone. Let him do that, you know? And guys, for the record, that Caldera 10, everything I said about in the video, I stand by it. If you're on an ultra tight budget, you can only spend $200 on a subwoofer, the Caldera 10 is your go-to. I promise you're not gonna regret it. And the craziest thing about it is, it's not like its output for its size, which is still pretty respectable. And keep in mind, it's not going to get crazy loud. It's a small guy, right? But its bass fidelity, its note-to-note distinction is damn good. Much better than any $200 subwoofer has a right to sound that good. You know, I really mean that. Everything I said in that video, I meant that. And you know what? I'll say this too. One last thing about the Caldera 10. This is a great sub for my guys that are like, I don't have a sub. You know, I've tried subs in the past. They didn't sound good. This is an easy way to test if a better sounding sub will put a smile on your face or not. Jay's just put up a smile emoji. I think he's laughing to my rant I went on about people thinking I'm trying to get free shit. Siphonics says, yeah, you legit. Ignore the obnoxious fools who don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, you know, it happens, bro. Every now and then I'll get some jaded person on my channel. I got one guy thinking I was AI. He thought my whole video was like me was an AI. And I was like, that's crazy. Like how jaded some people are. How some people are so hardcore looking for negativity in the world, their brain starts to manufacture it. Guys, what you believe, if you believe something, your brain starts looking for validation. If you believe there's a lot of red cars on the road, your brain will start to notice the red cars more. Be careful with your belief system. Be careful with your perspective. It should be healthy. It should be clear. It should be clean. It shouldn't be extreme in any one direction. because your brain will start feeding you validation, whether it's there or not. It's a dangerous thing, man. We see that in politics. We're not going to get into that, but we see that a lot there. Peter first name. I love that that's your screen name. I love that because it's like everyone already knows that's your first name. Like no one thinks Peter's your last name. So you did that to be funny. And I like that. It's a little bit of dad humor. I think that's great. Peter first name. And I'm going to say it every time, you know. He says, review all the subs or cut, copy, paste all in the one video, please. But what do you, I can't, I have playlists. I think I have playlists for subwoofers at every price point, bro. But that'd be like a 3-hour video. I can't do that. Carlos Gomez says rents are ridiculous. Yeah, they are, bro. Yeah, they are. My area is crazy expensive, but even areas where rent's $2,500 now, that same area rent used to be $1,500. It's gone up everywhere, you know, almost around the world. I'd say I'm sure there's areas where it hasn't, but. David Casaman says, I like your attitude. Thank you. Thank you. My goal has always been to have an audience that wouldn't get scared or offended when I go on these rants and tears where I show you guys like my authentic self, that I'm not like a super nice person. I certainly can be, and I believe in being nice and positive, but you know, at the same time, I'm a human being like anyone else, and I'm gonna tell it like it is, you know? Peter first name says, what kind of work do you do? I don't like to really like talk about work, bro. You know what I mean? I don't mind people asking me personal questions about my life. The work one is the only one I never really want to get into. We all have jobs. No one wants to talk about their job when they're not at their job. You know what I mean? But any other personal question you can ask me. I don't care about personal questions. What I say is no question is too personal. I'll decide if I'll answer it or not. You guys can ask whatever you want. One time one guy asked me if I was gay or not, and which I thought was crazy work. That's a crazy question to ask a stranger, right? So my answer to him was like, is that like your opening statement to people, like in the real world? Like asking them where they put their wiener? Because that's crazy. That's a crazy question to ask somebody. I'm not, obviously, for the record. I think everybody knows that. I think he might have been fishing, you know what I'm saying? But I thought that was crazy. I think that's a weird question to ask someone that you don't know, but people are weird. Serge says, hey, yo, you need me to pull up on the floor? No, I'm good, Serge. We hold it down here. We hold it down. Mark Shifter says, yes. Yeah, Mark, I never put two and two together. This is an epiphany for me, you know? It makes me wonder how many other, you know, manufacturers are subscribed on their personal account. My brain didn't connect the names, you know? Because when I read screen names, I don't assume people are using their real name. Even if it sounds like a real name, a lot of people where their name looks like a real name, it's not actually their real name, right? So I don't assume that like that's anyone. Barshakov says, regarding pricing, I wake up sometimes and think, damn, my mortgage 10 times my speaker cost. It might be high time to stop restricting myself with 2015 budget. That said, it works and I'm happy with my setup. Yeah, look, I could have a much more expensive system than what I have now, but I stopped myself for one reason. So there's a point where your system will reach in dollars. I don't care how much some people believe how much you spend doesn't affect your sound quality. It does. I'm sorry. It does. But there's an amount in dollars, figure north of 20K. And it can happen at a lower price too. Don't get me wrong. It can happen at $10,000 depending on your equipment, where you're going to have to start skipping songs because the recording quality just isn't good enough for how resolving your system is. You know, and that can happen on the inexpensive side, relatively inexpensive, with a pair of Platimons and a Kinky Studio EXM1, which is about 10 grand. That can happen, right? Because those Platimons are super resolving. But for most people, I'd imagine it happens north of 20K. Because the Platimons are a bit of a hidden gem. The level of resolution they give you at their price is insane. But I don't want my system to be like that, where I got to skip tracks, you know. Peter first name says nice, be positive. Yeah, man. You know? Mauricio says, can you bring them over to quick look at them? Yeah, come over. If anyone's in SoCal, I do like let people come over sometimes. But like, please, like if you're weird, don't. I had a couple weird people pull up, like super fucking weird. And I still like entertain them for a little bit, but I cut it short. You know what I'm saying? Most people that have come over that are subscribers were super cool. I've had a few subscribers. Turns out they live just like a few houses down. That was super cool. I've become like, you know, friendly with them, and it's always fun. AJ Faber says a JLD 110 in a 10 by 10 room isn't enough. Am I a baseaholic? Yes and no. The JLD 110 is small, but the problem is your room shape. Unfortunately, AJ, and I'm not dogging your room. All of our rooms have some level of imperfection. The imperfection your room happens to have, being a perfect square, is gonna show up in the bass region. You're gonna need a subwoofer that can fight the room a little bit better. And a JLD 110 can fight most rooms, but you're gonna have what I call the 30 hertz roll off, where you're just not gonna get a lot of low end. Luckily, there is a solution. That solution does involve you selling your D110, which you should be able to do well on. Their resale value is good. And believe it or not, you're gonna get a vented sub that is very good and has very good sound quality as well. So don't worry about sound quality just because it's vented. Excuse me. In small rooms that experience the 30 hertz roll off, a vented sub tends to be the solution. Most people don't want that solution because most vented subs sound like shit. Lucky for you all, Nemo Propaganda knows the best sounding vented subs in the world. Those are made by Rhythmic, and you're gonna go and buy a Rhythmic LV12M. You're gonna use that instead. You're gonna be happy, I promise you. Your room's never gonna be perfect. It's still a square room, don't get me wrong, but you're gonna get a lot more low end. You're not gonna have as much of that 30 hertz roll off. That's gonna get your room as good as it can be, given its square shape that is the enemy of bass. Bass likes more of a rectangular room. Hopefully you're in the US where Rhythmics are available, because if you're not, I'm not sure what your solution is. You could also try DSP. DSP can help. I don't think the JLD 110 is the problem. It's the room it's in. So I'm sorry that none of us like to hear that answer. I know that because we can't change the room. You know, that's the room you got. I 100% understand, but just know, my man, all of our rooms have some unique challenge that we have to overcome. Yours just happens to be in the bass region. David Casaman says, will your Tower 6 review be finished soon? It's already finished. It's already uploaded. It's already edited. It's just not public. It will be this coming Saturday's video. But if you have any questions about the Tower 6, I am more than happy to talk about them now because my memory is fresh. That speaker impressed the hell out of me. Ed says, would you buy anything from Kinky Studio right now due to the tariffs? I mean, they have a US distributor. I think it's called Tech Distribution. Let me check their website. I don't know how much. It depends. To that question, let's take the brand out of the equation because that's not really the question. It's would you buy a product that the price has elevated as a result of the tariff is really your question. And the answer to that, I would say, is it depends how much the price has elevated as a result of the tariff. So let's check tech and see how much, or if at all, Kinky Studios price has changed. I think it's tech. Yeah, tech. Sorry, it's techaudiospecialties.com. That's their US distributor. Let's look at Kinky Studio. So the Choco Ime is $16.94. The EXM1 Plus is just under $3,000. The EXM1 is $25. These are all the old prices. It doesn't appear that tariffs have hit. I don't know if that would be different if you ordered directly from Kinky Studio, but on techaudiospecialties.com, which is their US distributor, you know, the EXB7 mono blocks are 3,700. Everything is the same price it's been for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years even. Within $99, I'd say. Like, I think the mono blocks were 3,500 at one point, and they're 3,700, but they've been 3,700 for a long time. So, you know, so my answer, yeah, I would still buy Kinky Studio because it doesn't appear that their price has been impacted. But, you know, if there was a product whose price was impacted significantly, of course, there comes a point where it's no longer worth it for everything. I love the Choco Ime, but if it was $5,000, it doesn't make sense anymore. I love the Bucard S400 Mark IIs, but if they were $3,500, they ain't worth it at that price. In my opinion, like, look at it like this. Every product is good, like, as it relates to its price. That's why I was so upset about the Emotiva situation where they keep changing their price. No product is just excellent in a vacuum, right? Like a Toyota Camry is a great example. Toyota Camry is your benchmark standard sedan for reliability, you know. But if a Toyota Camry was $100K, you'd be like, fuck that. You wouldn't, who cares at that point, right? Siphonic says, I'm curious about the Platimons for that reason. How are they versus Radiant Clarity? I think I answered that in a pinned comment in the Radiant Clarity review. Let me pull that up. And if I did, I'll just read you what I wrote. I'm bringing up that review. Let me pause that. Scroll down, find that pinned comment. Damn, I don't see a pinned comment. Maybe I didn't. I guess I didn't. So let's go back to your question. So the Radiant Clarity 6.2 is going to have sharper imaging than just about everything. That's what it's crazy good at. In my room, I've never had a speaker image with more just razor sharp precision. That's what it does. The Platimon has outstanding imaging on its own as well. And its imaging feels more natural and more real. The level of imaging the Radiant Clarity 6.2 brought to the table was so much, it obviously felt like extra imaging, if that makes sense. In terms of detail, look, I'll be this clear. There's nothing cheaper than the Platimon that does what it does, that brings the resolution and refinement it brings to the table. There just isn't. The Platimon competes with speakers in the $10,000 price range. It's already giving you so much for your money. There is nothing cheaper than it that is as resolving, digs that deep into the recording, plays, you know, violins and strings with that much realism, and it's just on another level, right? It is a detail-first speaker. It can be overly analytical with the wrong pairing. You do have to feed it good, high-quality amplification. The Radiant Clarity 6.2, conversely, you can use, you know, an amp and not have to worry so much about pairing. The Platimon needs high-end pairing. You want to treat it like a $10,000 plus speaker because that's what it's genuinely competing with in terms of its sonic capabilities and what it brings to the table. I hope that answers the question. The Bass Blast says, what's your next step as a YouTuber? I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a guy that has a YouTube channel for fun. There's no next step. I don't think about those things. I have a career that is my main priority. This is for fun. This is to talk to you guys and chat and take this hobby where we're all normally isolated and by ourselves, right? And kind of bring us together for fun. That's the step. And we're already doing that. There is no goal. There is beyond that. There is, there's other goals that the channel has, but it already accomplishes those. One of the goals is to provide entertainment. Another goal is to help people get off the merry-go-round of obsessing on their next purchase, help them make a decision so they can get back to enjoying their music. That's another goal the channel has, but it already accomplishes that goal. There is nothing more. There's no grand vision or plan. People like what I do or they don't, and that's okay if they don't. I'm not for everyone. I can be an asshole sometimes. I'm okay with that. Like, I know who I am. And the people who like me are going to ride and enjoy the content. And we're going to like talk in these streams. And I'm going to see some of you guys at Expona. And it'll be fun. And some people won't like me. And that's okay. There's no vision. Yeah, sorry. I know you were maybe expecting a better answer. Like, I want to grow the channel. It doesn't matter. I only want people to subscribe if they actually like the content. Like all those people I met at the Rel event 2 weeks ago, every content creator was like, oh, what's your channel? I'll sub to you. And I'm like, no. Only sub if you're actually going to watch my content. I don't want any artificial subscribers. I literally tell my friends, don't subscribe to my channel because none of my friends are audiophiles. They're not going to watch my videos. I only want people to subscribe that actually enjoy the content, like what they see, things like that. The synthwave stopped. Damn, how long has this stream been going for? 91 minutes. You guys are cooking in the comments section. Gotta play it again. I'm just gonna rewind it. Where did I leave off? Peter first name says, any thoughts on the best audio on Blu-ray players for a concert performance, classical or orchestra? Unfortunately, Peter, I have to admit, this is not my area of expertise. I'm your subwoofer guy. I am your speaker guy for bookshelf speakers. I am your, integrated amplifier guy, sometimes separate, sometimes a DAC, sometimes a streamer. I'm not a phono guy. I'm not a CD player guy, Blu-ray. It's just not my area of expertise. I don't have the experience. I don't have the data points. I don't own physical media myself. And I know physical media can sound phenomenal. But as you can kind of see by my home behind me, I'm a bit of a minimalist, I like to have less physical possessions. So I can't answer that question. I don't know. Okay, Carlos Gomez says, I have two 1205 Mark 1s, which I think are great for the money, but I was thinking of adding two 510s or two 812s, but I'm not sure it would be required in a 2-channel music system, giving me his room dimensions. So, Carlos, the Mark 1s, the 1205 Mark 1s were great for their price back then. They were great. But listen to me. The S510 is a big step up in fidelity. It is a really, really big step up from fidelity. Yeah, it's a big step up in bass fidelity. Handling of delicate passages, note-to-note distinction. You're going to hear more transients in that 30 to 40 hertz region. It extends lower. It's more forceful. It's quicker. It's a big difference. I mean, S510 is a big difference from T9X even. And T9X is a big bass fidelity step up from the original Mark 1 1205. So sonically and bass fidelity, speaking, music theater, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of upgrades to be had there now. If you don't want it, that's okay. You don't have to upgrade just because the S510 is better. If you're like, dude, the 1205s are good enough for me, that's fine, bro. That's fine. But if you see the S510s on the secondhand market at a killer price because new ones just came out and you can afford them, the price isn't a problem. You're just wondering, is it going to be a big step up? Yes. Yes, bro. This is going to be a big step up. This is like right now. You're driving a Toyota Corolla. There's nothing wrong with a Toyota Corolla. Let's say Camry, more like a Camry, Toyota Camry. It's a good car. It kind of does everything well. And you just bought like an $85,000 Lexus. It's going to be a big step up. You know what I mean? John Cooper says, that's why I like your reviews. I like music. We seem to appreciate the same slight warm style. Your consistency makes you a good reviewer. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. AJ Faber says, regarding the JL D110, thank you. No problem, bro. No problem. If you're in the free Discord, AJ, give us an update if you end up getting the Rhythmic LV12M and if that is a better fit for you. But this is actually a problem that I've dealt with a lot in the various rooms and homes I've had. I've helped a lot of friends with this, and I've given a lot of thought to this problem. And this is a solution I found that works really well. So I hope it works for you also. Pock says, guy I know is always angry, on his way to visit his wife at the hospital, had a road rage incident. Oof. When he got there, he seen the other guy, found out he was rushing to see his dying wife. Yeah, man. I used to have pretty bad road rage myself, Pock, and the way I solved that, I took my mom to get her a new car. Every 3 or 4 years, I buy my mom a new car. And she was driving this time because she wanted to, when she test drives the car, she wanted to have the memory of her current car fresh in her mind. And my mom's older, and I realized my mom was a terrible driver. And I realized my mom was someone I would honk at normally and get upset with. And I thought, God, I would be so upset if someone treated my senior mother poorly on the road because she's old and just not that good at driving, and driving scares her a little bit. I'd be really upset by that. And I'm embarrassed to say it took me a long time to realize that. And I stopped, man. I stopped letting it bother me. And another game I play with myself sometimes is if someone's driving like an idiot, I tell myself maybe they gotta poop so bad and they are just rushing to get to where they can go so they don't poop themselves. Like maybe that's happening. I don't know. I don't know what struggles other people are going through. And the more I remind myself that, the more it allows me to judge less and stay more positive. Now, some people are just pieces of shit. And if someone shows you they're a piece of shit time and time again, it's okay to judge them. It's okay to discriminate who you want to be friends with and who you don't. Who you want in your life and who you don't. That's okay. It like a pattern, you know, like there's nothing wrong with pattern recognition. If someone lies to you constantly, they have an attitude with you constantly, at some point, I don't care what you're going through, right? You're just using it as an excuse, you know? H2O Filter says, do you play hi-fi off your computer? No, I don't. All my equipment is listed in the description box of all my speaker reviews. I think it'd be boring if I just went over it now, but you bring up any of my most recent speaker reviews, it shows you what I'm using, but yeah. Pock says that experience changed both their perspectives. Yeah, I bet it did. That's a powerful moment, and good on the people in that situation for letting it change their perspective, because some people commit to being an asshole. They commit to their anger. They want to be right about it. And that's a different kind of problem. Like, it's okay to have an emotional reaction to something, even if it's a poor emotional reaction. The mistake is feeling justified about it, feeling right about it. Now, don't get me wrong. If you find out your wife's been cheating on you, it's okay to be angry at her and think what she did was wrong. And it's okay to carry that for a period of time. But at some point, even that, you have to let it go. And if you permanently for the rest of your life believe she was a bad person for doing that, I'd say even that is the correct opinion to have. But you don't want to have that opinion with so much heat in your heart that it affects you. Remember, guys, we forgive not for others. not to justify others' behaviors or actions. We forgive so that we ourselves may have peace. Gregory, this is like a UFC name. He's got a middle name in parentheses in his name. If I was a UFC announcer, I would say Gregory Bobby Love Alderson. That's his screen name. Says, I'm upgrading my system. I'm upgrading my speakers. I have a $3,000 budget. What would you get? So $3,000 budget means you're going to get a $2,500 speaker because that's the category. Most, the speakers that used to be $2,000 are all $2,500 now. There's rarely anything that's like $3,000 flat. So your budget's up to $3,000. You're going to end up at $2,500. I've reviewed a ton of speakers in that price category. It really depends what kind of sound you want. If you want neutrality, there's nothing that's going to beat something like the Philharmonic BMR. If you want, and that speaker is very powerful bass too. So if you're like, I want the neutrality, but I can't have bass. I can't have powerful bass for some reason. I don't know what that reason would be. That's a crazy reason. But if you have that reason, then okay, ATC SCM11 is a perfectly neutral speaker. You want a little bit of warmth? CAF R3 Meta. You want a little more warmth? Bucard S400 Mark II. You want a lot of warmth? Dynaudio Evoke 20. You're like, no. I want to open an area and clarity focused sound. Totem Bison Bookshelf. There are so many options. I got to know more about what kind of sound you like before I tell you. But if you just want to know what I would get, everyone knows. Everyone that's followed me for a long time knows. My daily driver is the Bucard S400 Mark II. That's my favorite speaker. It's not the best speaker in the world, but it is the speaker that suits my personal taste. So if your question is just what is Nemo Propaganda's personal taste around that price, it's the S400 Mark II. If your question is what's the best speaker at that price, there is no best. There's only what's the best for your taste. And you guys, friendly reminder, my free Discord is available to anyone. The link is in the description box of all my videos. That's where I can help you discover what your taste is and make a more meaningful recommendation. It allows us to have a better back and forth dialogue. Let me see where I left off. Barker Shaw says, looking forward to yours and Andrew Robinson's end of the year best vids. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Those are a lot of fun to make. I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. If you pay attention to my thumbnails, I put something in every thumbnail that tells you, the audience, it tells you if a product will potentially be in that video. It doesn't tell you it will be, but there's something I put in every video that tells you potentially this might be a product of the year. And that's when I say it's a 2025 favorite. If I say that in the video, it means potentially it may be a product of the year. It doesn't guarantee it will be on the list. And I'm not saying for 1,000% a product that doesn't say that won't be on the list. But that's an indicator. That's an indicator. This little, what do they call it? Easter egg. That's a little Easter egg for you guys. Shoplin, what's up, brother? Another longtime subscriber says, would you consider reviewing the Advanced Paris A10 Classic? Depends what it costs. Let me look at it. I hate the name of their company. I don't know why. I just don't like it. Are they from Paris? If they're from Paris, it's okay. Then it's okay. But if they're not, I don't like that. Let me look them up. I do not like the way that amp looks at all. But it's only $3,000, it looks like. Unless that's an eBay listing. I don't know if that's a used one. Let me see if I can find it on a distributor website. Bringing up Crutchfield. Yeah, it's a $3,000 amp. If they emailed me and asked me to review it, I think I'd review it, yeah. People ask me about it. It's reasonably priced. It's got some cool VU meters. People like that. I've heard it's like the AccuPhase sound on a budget, so I'd probably like the sound. And I feel curiosity for it. So yeah, if they reached out to me, I'd be happy to talk to them, even though I think the name or the company's interesting. Again, unless if they're actually from, you know, that region of the world, then, you know, I think Paris is Paris in France? I think is it? Where is Paris? I'm your typical American, not the best geography, huh? Yeah, France. Yeah, so if they're actually from France, the name is cool, no problem. But if they're from England or they're from Asia and their name is Advanced Paris, I feel it's a little misleading. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk with them either way. I feel a curiosity for this piece. Oh yeah. Joplin says yes, they're from France. So then yes, no problem with the name. They're not tricking anyone. No problem with the name. Then I'm no longer bothered by it. If they reached out to me, I would review their product happily. Yes. Peter first name says, I like your unvarnished approach. It is very unvarnished. For those that may not know, I film, edit, and upload everything from my cell phone. I don't even own like a camera. My video quality will only ever be as good as the iPhone camera allows. I currently have a 16 Pro. That's as good as it's going to be. I don't care enough for the video quality. I use a nice mic. I've used a bunch of mics over the years because people used to complain that my video sounded like shit. I tried the Rode Wireless Go. I went through like 6 of those. They just kept breaking. If anyone knows anyone at Rode, like they owe me dollars, seriously. But this is actually another Rode mic, but this is like a full-size daddy, so it works really well. Feliciano, what's up? He says, yo, another long-time subscriber. He says, is it me or is your stream chopping up? Streams chop up sometimes. It's the nature of the beast, bro. Since Feliciano said that, guys, give some feedback only if it chopped up for you. I don't need people saying it's good because I'd imagine a lot of people are saying it's good. But if the stream got choppy for you at any point, I want to know about it. Let me know. I'm curious about that kind of stuff. Eric says, can you recommend an alternative to the JLD108 looking for a 4-sub solution in connection with Dirac Art, but they need to be on the smaller side? Bucart sub 10s. Those are slim and shallow, and you can get those close to the wall. How's that? Rel 1003 Mark IIs are small. Trying to think what else. Let me go to my reviews. Let me remind myself the subwoofers I've reviewed. Based on what you're doing, I imagine it has to be front firing. Yeah, I mean, those are my recommendations, bro. I'm not really the best at giving blanket recommendations. Where I'm very helpful for people is once you have narrowed down your list to 2 or 3 options, then I'm really good at helping you pick from there. But just like pulling recommendations out of the air is a little bit difficult for me. So I generally ask the audience to, hey, you got to do some legwork. And you got to do your research. You got to look up, some measurements, the depth and width of these products that fit your needs. Get your list down to 2 or 3. If you're in the Discord, your list can be longer. You can get up to 5, and I'll help you narrow it down to what I think will be the better fit. But just pulling recommendations out of the air, those are my recommendations. Yeah. So Barker Shaw said it did chop up for him. He just needed to refresh. Yeah. And this is what I've noticed. Like Andrew Robinson, his streams are like much higher level than mine. He's using a nice camera, better software, everything. And his get choppy sometimes. So I think it's a YouTube problem and not anything the content creator has control over. So my best advice, guys, if the stream gets choppy, just hit that refresh button. And I'm pretty sure these streams are in 720p. So if your settings are artificially trying to boost it, go in there manually in those advanced settings and change it to 720p. There's no reason for it to be in 1080 or 4K or anything, because I'm pretty sure live streams, at least the way I do them, cap out at 720. Barker Shaw said the way he stopped road raging is by getting a slow car. That's not a solution for me. I've had fast cars my whole life. I can't drive a slow car. I'm a car guy. I love motorsports. I'm into cars. I love engines. I love performance vehicles. I can't have a slow car, bro. One of my cars has a V10. My other car is a twin turbo V8. Like, I can't have a slow car. Larry Sadman says potentially. Larry, another longtime viewer, by the way. Potentially what? It seems like maybe your hand slipped. Maybe you hit enter before typing your whole comment. I'm not sure. Peter says Larry Alex Taunton on YouTube did a nice segment on forgiveness. I don't know who that is, but that's great. We need more content like that in the world, you know? Pal says, wow, Nemo, I like you even more now. Knowing some of your backstory gives me a more perspective of who you are. We are so much alike. I am the coolest guy. Just don't mess with me. LOL. Love you, bro. Thank you, pal. I appreciate that. And you know, there's a lot of, I think it's important to get to know people, because the more we get to know people, the more we realize the human experience is more universal than we realize. Most of us men have had our hearts broken. Most of us men have reacted the same way and took too long to get over it. You know, most of us men have gone through a stage where we've been out of shape and overweight and didn't respect ourselves and then turned it around. And many of us men are like me and still maybe have 20 or 25 pounds to lose, but it's not a big deal, you know. Most of us like to overeat sometimes. Most of us have a temper sometimes. Most of us, being good, being better takes effort. And I just genuinely believe that that's our challenge. That's the meaning of life, is to be better where possible. And it doesn't mean you got to be able to run a marathon or be, you know, some saint. It's just, if you could just be a little bit better than you were a few months ago, just a little bit, that's okay. That's great. Guys, I couldn't keep my car clean on the inside until I was 32 years old. For years, I was the guy, you get into his car and you're like, what the hell? You got shit everywhere. At 32 years old, I finally learned the skill of respecting my space, respecting myself enough to keep my car clean on the inside. Some of this shit takes time. And it's okay to be behind, you know, on certain stuff. None of us are perfect at everything. Shit. I'll be the first to admit that. Pal says he's British as well. Nice. Our UFC fighter Gregory Bobby Love Anderson retracted a comment. Barker Shaw says, did chop up for me too, just needed a refresh. Okay, I already read that. Peter First Name says Paris, Texas, LOL. Cool movie. I believe there's also a Paris in Tennessee. I could be wrong. Gregory says, this is probably the comment that got retracted. He fixed it. Gregory Bobby Love Alderson. Thanks for your honest answer. Why'd you put your name twice? Your name is there twice. That's weird. I was thinking about Zoo DWX with my 2REL T7X and my Galleon Audio TSA 75 and the matching preamp and my Streamers Ever Solo Gen 2. Might be too neutral. The Galleon TSA 75. Actually, I haven't heard that amp. I haven't. I was thinking of the integrated. I don't know about if that amp is tuned to be more neutral or more detail focused. Ever Solo stuff is also neutral to detail focused. The DWX is also towards, very neutral with a little rise in the mid range. You might be missing some body. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's what you want. Unless you are the customer for that. You like openness, expansiveness. You don't mind if the sound's a little analytical. You like detailed things like that. The DWX is not a resolution monster, just so we're clear. Its detail is in the mid-range and upper mid-range. And despite its size, it's not a bass power speaker, but you got your rel subs for that. Yeah, Gregory, I need to know more about your taste before I could say, yeah, go for that. I love the DWX, but I don't know your taste, right? Eric says, thank you. Appreciate the info, of course. Dave Yurkovic says, hey, Nemo, I, like Carlos, have a pair of REL 1205, but the Mark II model. That's good. The Mark IIs are an upgrade. They provide good detail, note to note, etc., but they lack depth, punch of the main speakers are Klipsch, bell powered by Prima Luna 300i. Okay. It sounds like your question is if you should upgrade. Let me know what your exact question is. I know what you got. That's good. That's helpful. And I know what you don't love. Let me know what your question is, though. H2O Filter says he has a REL T5X. I want to upgrade my system with stereo subs. Would I need to upgrade to front-facing woofers versus down-firing ones? You don't have to unless your room doesn't like down-firing drivers. Some guys, I haven't had this experience myself, but I've had many people tell me down-firing subs just don't work in their room for one reason or another. And if that's the case for you, then you should switch to front-firing. But if you have a T5X, you like what you got, you want more of it, add a second one. Absolutely. I mean, if you've got a lot of extra cash, by all means, upgrade to a pair of T7Xs. They do give you a little more fidelity, but we all have our budgets, right? So Gregory says he likes a warmer speaker. The DWX is not very warm. It's more neutral and natural. Because neutrality doesn't always sound natural. Sometimes neutrality can sound artificial, like a AI made it, emotionless. Neutral and natural means it's neutral and still has some emotional connection. That's what the DWX is. It's not warm. You want warmth around that price? Tell me some other things that are on your mind and I'll give you my opinion. That's the best way I could help you. We're entering the tail end of the stream. I've been talking for 2 hours, so brain power is getting low a little bit. Caffeine's wearing off. Might be able to fix that. Got this new energy drink. I bought this off Amazon. It doesn't have any artificial sweeteners. I was trying to cut down on those. It's called Juno. Caffeine's a little light compared to a Celsius. It's 125, so it doesn't have the kick I'm used to. Doesn't taste amazing either like Celsius, but for not having artificial sweetener in it, it's decent. You know what I mean? I have this weird theory that artificial sweeteners, like a lot of them, like build up in your system, and that's what causes like weird aches and pains and cancers and shit like that. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to food, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't fully trust the corporate industrial complex of food production, you know? So yeah, we're getting close to the tail end of the stream. This is usually where it dies out. The 2 hour mark is usually where the questions slow down, and I just call it a natural end. If we're there, it is what it is. But Gregory, I'd like to answer your question. So let me know a couple of options that caught your interest, a couple of speakers that you've just kind of wondered if you might like or not. And based on everything you've told me about your taste, I'll tell you if you're on the right track or not. Okay, so you're adding a little more context. So you want good detail and you want them to have a full body sound. Totem Bison comes to mind, Totem Bison bookshelf. Kef R3 Meta comes to mind. Totem Bison is gonna, like, the treble of the Kef R3 Meta is more neutral. The Totem Bison steps it up in terms of treble quantity. More sparkles, more air, more expansiveness, more detail. It is more of a treble forward sound, but I have a feeling you like that. So Totem Bison bookshelf is my higher recommendation. Kef R3 Meta, if you're like, no, I don't want too much treble though. Ace of Spades giving us the metal hand. You see, Ace of Spades, you've been around for a while. You know this stream is coming to an end. You know. So I'm gonna say Totem Bison bookshelf based on everything you've said so far. But if you're in the free Discord, Gregory, feel free to make a post. We have a purchase advice section, and let us know. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you're using the 1961 tower right now? The 1961 tower has a similar amount of treble energy as the Totem Bison. The Totem Bison actually has more bass. The 1961 tower hardly has any bass for a tower. A lot of bookshelves have more bass than that. Barkashaw says, regarding our food killing us, LOL, that's no conspiracy. Watch what you eat, especially with the EPA getting gutted. I don't know if the EPA has anything to do with it. So my conspiracy theories are layered, bro. I have a whole separate conspiracy theory on the EPA. I think the EPA is just an embezzlement scheme. I think all governments around the world do this. I think what they do is they make these groups that has a good cause. The cause is good. The cause is helpful. The cause is beneficial. We want clean air. We want a good environment. These things are good. But I think they put their buddies in charge. And what their buddies do is they get that funding and they funnel some of it back to the people in charge. They keep some, they put it in their pockets. So as a result, these groups that are supposed to be good for humanity and people and the environment and whatever else they may be for, end up not doing much, you know? I think a lot of these government programs are embezzlement schemes at the end of the day. And I believe it's bipartisan. I'm not like one of those people that's like, I'm on this side and those people on that side are bad or wrong. I don't believe in that, man. You know, I don't believe in that. The world wants you to be like that, bro. The internet, the algorithms are going to just feed you validation content and make you hate people. And you got to fight that, guys. No matter what you believe in, you got to fight that. It's not human nature to hate such a large group of people, man. At minimum, if people disagree with you, consider them misguided. That's okay. Consider them to just maybe have a genuinely different belief system. You can believe they're wrong, but you shouldn't have so much hatred in your heart for any group of people. It ain't right. Whatever it is, man. Well, there are some things that are, you know, you probably should have an emotional reaction to. I don't want to say it, you know, but let me say a censored version of it. If someone believes in harming children, I think it's natural and normal to hate them, you know? Child abuse bad. I think we can all get behind that. But, you know, aside from those, you know, or murder's bad, you know, if someone killed your family member in cold blood, I think it's understandable to have some hatred towards them. But just for disagreements on policy and things, we shouldn't hate people, man. Where did we leave off? Sorry, I went on a little tear. I try not to get political. I don't think it's good. You know, I don't think it's good. So Dave Yurkovic says, sorry, yes, possible upgrade. It wouldn't allow me to add any more text. No problem, bro. But yes, I'm wondering about upgrading and if one or two are suggested. Thank you. Should I go with JL or go to the two Vanguard? So let me go back up to your comment. So you have 1205 Mark IIs. The Vanguard is a great 10-inch sub, but the REL 1205 Mark II is a pretty big upgrade from those Vanguards. What those Vanguards are crazy value for $200, but the REL 1205 is a pretty significant step up from the Caldera 10. So those are off your list. That would be a downgrade in terms of output, fullness, extension, and things like that. The crazy thing is the Vanguards do come close to having the base fidelity of the 1205s, which is crazy for how cheap the Vanguard is. But an upgrade from the 1205 Mark II, and you probably want to preserve your fidelity. Something like Despite them being smaller, JL D110s would do it. Make sure you watch my review. They do bring a lot of tonal heaviness to the table. The JL subs are very quick and have great note-to-note distinction. They slightly crush delicate details. We're splitting hairs a little bit compared to Rel, but compared to just about everything else, JL's handling of delicate passages are still quite good. I'd say a JL E110 would be more what I would prefer for an upgrade for you if you wanted JL. The natural upgrade would be, going for a pair of Predator 1510s. But if you don't want to size up like that, JL D110, Martin Logan Dynamo 12 specifically, not the 10, the 12. Yeah. But if you really love the sound of the 1205 Mark II, really consider the Predator 1510. JL just brings so much weight and heaviness to its sound. Some people may find it fatiguing. Its attack is quite a bit more aggressive, but if those are the things you don't like about the 1205, if you're like, it's great, but I wish it bared down on me harder and was more aggressive with it. I wish it was more forceful and in my face, then yeah, that's JL. But if you're like, I just want more output and extension and the same sound and fidelity, that's the Predator 1510. As far as one or pairs, most people like pairs. I've never met someone that got pairs and was disappointed. But you don't have to do it all at once. You can always add your second sub later if there's a financial restriction. And no matter how much money someone makes, there's always a financial restriction at some point. So don't feel bad for that. Peter, first name, says, thank you for sharing what you've learned. Yeah, no problem, man. I skipped some comments. Wildstar says, I have a random question on the Vanguard Caldera 10. How would two of them compare to two JL D108s? Bro, this is... Like, the Caldera 10 is great for $200. Its bass fidelity is on par with some of the better sounding subwoofers. It's small though, so it's not going to do anything below 30 hertz. It's not going to be able to play very loud, but its bass quality is quite good, right? It's mid-bass articulation specifically. JLD 108s, I mean, this is on another level, man. That is like JL Audio does not fuck around, guys. Like, this is like they put a very serious effort towards making a subwoofer. Their shit is on a different level compared to most. Okay? The only thing you need to know about JL Audio is it's aggressive and it's tonally heavy. But in all other areas, their sound quality is up there with the best. Their speed, their transient response, their note-to-note distinction. JL Audio makes a phenomenal sub. A pair of Calderas can't come close to a pair of D108s in output alone. And the D108s are going to have similar or better bass fidelity characteristics, all of them, right? Like this, even these products that are like phenomenal for their price, it doesn't mean something 5 times the price is going to be embarrassed by. Like, there's a limit to how well priced something can be. Oh, my butt hurts from sitting on this chair. Where did I leave off? Let me make sure I didn't skip any other questions. H2O filter. I could see Zoo sounding lean to some people. They don't have any deep bass. Their bass is more in the mid bass region. I could see with the certain amplification in a certain room, Zoo can sound lean. It shouldn't. That's not the way it's supposed to sound, but we all have a certain room and we all have the amp we have, and not everyone's a reviewer who has 5 or 7 different amps. So I could see that, yeah. Gregory says, thanks. Owens Odyssey says, WSG Nemo. What was WSG? I'm not up to the new kid slang. I don't know what WSG stands for. I'm guessing it's some form of what's up. Like 4 years ago, I got a JBL 550p. That was a good sub for $200 back when it was on clearance. And I'm pretty sure it was your video that made me get it. How do you feel about the JBL 550p now? Like, it's still like, I mean, if you paid $200 for it, it's good, bro. But like, again, like it's gonna be murdered by something like a RSL Speedwoofer 10S, you know? Ace of Spades says he agrees. Ace of Spades, like the Rel episode, did they only have a hi-fi listening experience, or did they have 2 channels set up with their subs? It was a theater setup in the demo room. They did have a hi-fi channel upstairs in this hallway, just to show how even in a compromised space you can get great sound, and that was pretty cool. Bobby Love Anderson, Gregory Bobby Love Anderson says, thanks H2O Filter. I was thinking about the Super Lintons. Yeah. H2O Filter says those extend more on the high end, but less on the low end. But both are good things. IMO, fun speakers for sure. Ed S asks the question I always get asked in these streams. What do I think about Sioux Research subs? I'll say the same thing I always say. Sioux Research's warehouse is like 45 minutes away from me. I've emailed them like 4 or 5 times. They don't get back to me. They're not interested in working with Nemo Propaganda for some reason. Couldn't tell you why. No idea why, bro. You want to know the irony of all that? Zero Fidelity. Sean, good guy. Love him. Friends. He makes like 3-4 videos a year. Zero Fidelity's channel is not very active. They reached out to him though. And I'm like, I got so annoyed. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? He's like, yeah, Sioux Research reached out to me for a review, but you know, I'm not really steady making content, so I'm not doing it. But I was like, how are these people gonna reach out to a YouTuber who is like, their channel is obviously, you know, taking a back seat. He's still making content, just not a lot of it. And ignore fucking 5 emails from the guy who's like steady making content. So I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you guys. At this point, if Sioux Research wants me to review their product, I'll review it, but not for free. Everyone else's review is free. But all these brands like Amphion, Sioux Research, these brands that never got back to me, they ghosted me, BK, you know, Electronics or whatever they called. If they want to work with me now that my channel's bigger, hey, no problem, bro. But I'm gonna need $1,000. Like straight up. I wasn't good enough for you back when my channel was small. You didn't even give the courtesy of, you know, saying, hey, you know, we'd love to work with you, but, you know, reach back out when your channel's a little bit larger, if you don't mind. I would have accepted that. I would have had no problem with that kind of response. But they didn't even give me the courtesy of a reply 3, 4, 5 times. They got to pay for a review now, straight up. And just to be clear, that money, if they do pay me, it doesn't entitle them to shit of what the fuck I will say in my video. Just to be clear. That's how I feel about Sioux Research. Little bit of a chip on my shoulder, if I'm being completely honest. That would not impact how I review their product though, because I'm not actually upset with them in like that way where I'm like, my feelings are hurt. I think it's bad manners. You know what I mean? You had your chance and it's like, hey, if this is just business to you, my channel wasn't big enough, no problem. You didn't have the courtesy to explain that, no problem. But you want me to do free work for you now? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? This is business. You got to pay now, you know? And same goes for anyone in the past like that. Amphion Audio was the same way. They want a review from Nemo, you got to pay. And I'll say in the video, this is paid content. I don't care. I'll follow the FCC guidelines. For the record, I've never charged anyone for a review. Not yet. But those people that fucked around with it, Focal, that's another one. Focal wants a review with Nemo, they got to pay. I don't give a shit. Where did we leave off? H2O Filters, thanks for your time, Nemo. Shout out from Chicago. Nice, nice. Oh, so you better be at Axpona, bro. It's close to you. Ace of Spades also says ZF Zero Fidelity doesn't even really love subs where you're awesome at sub content. Just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I don't know if it's that he doesn't like that. It's just most reviewers don't review subwoofers. Most don't, right? You know, look at Darko, Andrew Robinson. You know, they're not reviewing a lot of subwoofers, right? H2O Filter says I'm there, bro. Perfect, perfect. I'll see you there in April, I believe. So, all right. So we're at 135 minutes. This might be the longest stream I've ever done. If more questions come in, I got a little bit more time in me. But if this is the natural end, I don't want to overstay my welcome. I'm never the guy to come to someone's house and overstay his welcome. People start clearing out. Nemo's clearing out. Don't want to overstay my welcome. I'm Middle Eastern, and in our culture, we're pretty sensitive to that. You know, those like little social cues, like of being a burden to others. A little bit too much sometimes, to be honest. But yeah, I'm gonna give you guys about a minute just in case the chat's like behind. But I have a feeling that this might be the natural end. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make spaghetti when I get off of this stream. I recently got my grandmother's, rest in peace, spaghetti recipe down to a science, and I could replicate it just the way she used to. And I've been having a lot of fun making that. No, you're not just getting started. You're playing games, Rockroll, because you didn't even ask a question. See, you didn't even ask. You ran out of questions too. Rock and Roll says so. It's still funny to me that some people don't notice that speech pattern. I do it in almost all my videos, but some of you guys really notice it. You know what I mean? I'm like that. I notice speech patterns in others, so I have no problem with the people who notice my speech patterns. I do have a problem with the people who criticize them because I'm not the topic of the review. The product is, you know? But yeah, David's signing out. Thanks, Nemo. Thank you, David. You know? Rockroll says Magnum Pen. Bro, I emailed them. They didn't respond. They're cool. They're down to do a review. I think maybe they just didn't see my email. So I'll email them again. They're super cool people. Because there are times people just don't get back to me by accident. And I understand that. And I think that one was just an accident. I'm not sure if I'll do a lot of bigger speakers just because I have 2 cars in my garage now. I no longer have half my garage that can just take up space for boxes. So I'm not sure I can do it. Ed S says, shawarma or kebab? Kebab. Easy. Kebab is superior to shawarma. Shawarma is good too, don't get me wrong. But a good kebab and rice all day long. Carlos saying, see ya. Take care, Carlos. Yeah, we're at the tail end here. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Next week's video will be, I can't believe no one asked questions about it. The Tower 6 by Neil Blanchard Designs or NB Designs. It's a DIY kit. It is available with a flat pack. There's a crossover build service available. Barkashaz is saying, no, it's shawarma every time. Oh man, we might have to fight. I'm just kidding. Nuna kebab in Chicago is the best. Yup. That the sandwich, I'm not a fan of, like the pita bread with the kebab inside. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I need the rice. That's my carb of choice. My preferred bread tends to be like sourdough, which doesn't go with Middle Eastern food. Middle Earth says, shout out Neil Blanchard. Yup. H2O Filter says it's Persian style. What do you mean? I'm Persian. What do you mean it's Persian? What is Persian style? The bread? Yeah, I know, but so is with the rice. I like it with the rice. Oh, perfect. Philippe saying he was looking at building Neil's kit. Yeah, there's a crossover build service available. So you could take the all the way DIY approach with it, or like an assembly approach if you want. It'll cost you more if you take the assembly approach. But yeah, that was a phenomenal speaker, Philip. Make sure you watch that review. All right, guys, look, that's everything for me. Again, this YouTube channel does have a free Discord. Feel free to hop in there if anyone wants to chat more. Someone's talking about falafel. Falafel's good, ace, but sometimes falafel's basically just fried hummus, guys, which is crazy if you think about it. But anyways, I digress. I'm getting sidetracked. Sheesh or doner? Sheesh. Sheesh for sure. Doner, it gives me heartburn. There's too much flavor in it. I love that you guys are into food. I'm not the only person here with a low-key eating disorder. That's what my friends say. Anyways, guys, look, I'm gonna sign out. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Thank you for all the questions. I appreciate everyone. And thank you for never asking me about worldly events. I do appreciate that you guys never really try to steer the conversation towards worldly events. You know, I'm just another guy with an opinion, and no one needs my opinion on what's in the news and what's on TV. So thank you for not asking me about that stuff. Thank you for keeping it about hi-fi, the thing that, you know, bonds us all together. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Larry's saying it's not fried hummus, it's fried chickpeas. Larry, I know specifically it's not, but like it kind of is also. You know what I mean? I'm exaggerating, I know, but it also kind of is. You know what I mean? It kind of is. Anyways, look, guys, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate the food talk at the end. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have. Oh, I'm not.